Dr. David McKenzie is our resident couples counselor and sex therapist. He is a happily married man who was once divorced but still has a great relationship with his first bride and his current bride. He admits he is not perfect, but he does have some personal experience if you want to divorce without daggers and deceit. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. David McKenzie back to Studio 4 to tell us more. Good morning.
Good morning, Fanny.
Your marriage still topped up?
It's topped right up. 20 years.
Really?
Yes.
Well, see, I always check.
Yes. Well, we've had our struggles, and I would hope that all couples would have their struggles. As I've always said, without the possibility of conflict, there's no possibility of relationship.
Exactly, and I like that you say if you don't fight, you don't have a relationship.
Oh, yeah, fighting
a
is,
little bit.
Yeah, it's how you handle conflict. And it doesn't mean you have to be throwing pots and pans, but when you have two people who are equal in their status in the relationship and have opinions, you're going to clash.
Is there such a thing, in your opinion, as a good divorce?
All divorce, with the exception of a small minority, is a tragedy. And so it's hard to use the word good. You introduced with saying the velvet glove. I probably prefer that only because divorce does have a punch, but it can be softened. Yes, all the possibility in the world. My ex and I had a very much of a velvet glove separation and divorce.
Right.
We maintained friendship. What often happens if you have one partner or both who become unreasonable, and that's the key word, is reasonableness. If you have a partner who's unreasonable or who has cheated on you or has been abusive, that really complicates the factor. So that if you have one partner wanting to be reasonable and the other being unreasonable, it's really hard to hold your stature.
Exactly. So what do you do if you have one partner who's sane and wants to deal with the custody situation with a mediator and will love you even though you go away and is mature, and you have another partner who is controlling and freaked out and out for blood?
Well, that does not have to change the way you behave. You can still behave maturely and civilly, and if your partner or your ex-partner is not doing that, he can be or she can be held accountable, but you don't have to fight fire with fire.
Very good point. We've all been watching, well, those of us who are deeply shallow occasionally, we watch what, I know, and it's good for us. It's a release. Yes. Heather Mills and the Paul McCartney divorce, and my gosh, they're in this bitter divorce battle. She says Paul's controlling. Now the stepdaughter Stella has come into the picture. There wasn't a prenup. She's losing her public relations staff. It's a mess. Somebody told me, I hope this isn't true, that Stella McCartney made a pin with one leg on it.
Oh my.
I hope that's not true. That's really dirty.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Well,
I think that's a rumor.
Yeah.
I hope.
Some divorces and separations can really degenerate into that level of vindictiveness and vengeance. And the one who loses ultimately are, first of all, the children, and secondly, the person who holds this vengeance.
But if no children and just lots of money.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
in this case,
what do
a friend of mine said, Paul made the music, why does she want the money?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. She came into his life much later, of course, and I don't know how many years they were married, but I have more difficulty with somebody wanting half your fortune if they've been with you for 5 years than a partner who stayed in the home, who's looked after your children, who has foregone his or her career in order to support you. Yes, I believe they deserve a very large equal share of that.
But in our dreams, we all want to marry a man who says, you know, she's a great woman, and I want her to live as she lived with me. Anything she wants.
Well, apparently, is it Michael Jordan
needs.
and Juanita? They have that kind of a velvet glove divorce in which he does not.
$168 million.
Yeah, well, he doesn't bulk at that. The man's a multi-millionaire. So.
And he doesn't. Why get into a fight?
Yeah.
I'd leave him for $168 million. Don't you think? Gee,
I hope not.
I wonder if he wants another.
I'd remarry him again.
I like that, but they had a skirmish. They were married for 17 years,
yes.
Right? In the public eye, of course, a lot. That's not always easy. They did have a separation. Yeah. Rashad, who is our expert in all of this, told me they had a separation in 2002, headed for the divorce courts, put it back together.
Yes.
Now it's fallen apart again.
Yes.
Is that typical?
Not typical, but it's not unusual. And I've had couples come to me in which they're on the verge of divorce, and suddenly they have a light that goes off in the therapy session, or they start to face themselves, which is essential to healing yourself and the relationship, and they realize what part of the equation they play. And then they say, I think it's maybe time to take a second look at this. That's always a very happy experience for me as a therapist. I'm on the side of making relationships work. And some couples will come, especially men, they tend to fear that I'm going to give them some bad news which will mean they'll have to separate. And I try to convince them that's not at all what I'm about. I've never advised anybody to divorce.
What happens when two people think this is what they want, the divorce? They split up, the grass is not greener.
That's right.
One wants to come home, the other says, no, done. How do you work with a couple like that?
Well, both have to be willing to work on it. And so it's not my place to try and convince somebody who's already made up his or her mind that that's it. If they want my opinion, I'll simply show them what the stats are and what is good in all of this, and what the drawbacks are, but it's not my job to try and make them want it.
But it does happen. One person is emotionally absent, falls out of love. The other person is quite shocked, doesn't know what happened in the relationship, wants the relationship to work desperately, and the other partner says, done,
well,
finished.
That's much more often than you think.
I know.
And that's, of course, where the tragedy and the sadness of the relationship. I strongly believe, as I've said many times, based on Virginia Satir's conjoint therapy model, that the way to confront ourselves and our deepest pain is in community. And that's the community of our primary relationship. We weren't raised in a vacuum. We come from a family of origin, and the real us, as I say, does not come out sitting on top of Mount Everest by ourselves. It comes out in the relationship.
Can you figure out as a therapist where the disconnect happens and when the disconnect happens between two people? It's always quite amazing to see a couple you think are totally happy, and one says, I haven't been in love with her for 10 years.
Well,
I've been faking it for 10 years. I didn't love her when I married her.
And there are reasons why he would marry a woman he does not love, and vice versa.
Why?
I believe that the connection and the disconnection sit side by side in the very first half hour that they meet. That the very seeds that draw them together will eventually blossom and take them to where they were meant to be, at a crossroads. Do I get out of this relationship, or do I stay in it? And I say to them, it's not until you're willing to meet the enemy, and the enemy is me, that you can really do some work on yourself, which will, of course, impact the relationship.
So when we're talking about preventing divorce, you meet, you fall in love. You're in the butterfly stage, making promises, thinking each other are just perfect. We tend not to listen to what our new mate is really saying.
That's right. That's right. And one therapist years ago remember telling me that he counsels couples, listen to what your partner or potential partner is saying about himself and believe it, even if it's in jest. You know, oh, I can't manage money, or oh, I can't keep $1, or yeah, I love to go out drinking every weekend with the boys. Don't dismiss that. Believe it.
No, I'm a golf nut.
Okay.
Trust me. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he says, you know, golf is really important to me, has always been important to me. I play golf with my buddies 2 days every week.
I don't think that'll ever change.
And that won't change, and
Believe
I don't
him.
want to change it. Believe him.
Believe him, that's right. Yeah.
Believe her.
I believe that there is a very deep river that's running underground that is informing the partners we choose in life. On the surface, I'm in love, it's gaga time, but underneath there's a much deeper connection going on. And that both has a glory to it and a burden. There's a shadow and a light. And some of it's not always good reasons why we're hooking up. We're trying to heal that old movie going on.
Of course.
And there are other things that we see in our partner, the potential to be a really good relationship.
My ex said to me when I met him, I don't do Christmas, I don't do economy. I like that. Likes to fly in the front of the jet. Very good. The Christmas part I could live with.
Yeah. By economy, he meant he can't handle money?
No, no, I don't do economy. Means I don't fly
Oh, I
economy.
see what you see. Yes.
Doesn't
yes,
do
yes.
economy. Like that. Okay. That's a plus.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And the Christmas thing we can work on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then when you start to work on it, not in our case, but in just an example, you say many partners would think in the back of their mind, you know what, I know he'll change when Christmas rolls around.
No.
Not so.
No. Yeah, that's an illusion. If you think you're going to change your partner, you need to wake up and smell the coffee.
Exactly. When people are staying together because of the children.
Yes.
Because their parents haven't died.
Yes.
And that happens. You probably know that as a
Well, it
therapist.
means they haven't finished their adolescence.
Really, but they can't disappoint the parents. Their parents would still kill them at 50 if they divorce.
Well,
so they wait till the parents die. What's that about?
Well, they've got to do their work on their adolescence. And you've completed or integrated your adolescence when you can be in front of your parents and not acquiesce to their desires so you won't displease mom or dad, or not do the opposite just to peeve mom and dad off.
Exactly.
When you can be yourself and not worry what they think and live your own life, now you're integrated.
The great writer Norman Mailer, I think he had 6 wives. He had quite a few. He was in a few tortured experiences and some very short marriages. And in the end, he got it right after 6 or maybe 7, can't remember. But he finally got it right. What goes on there? I mean, I know he was a genius at 25 and with The Naked and the Dead, and it was a little too much, and he didn't know how to handle the fame.
Well, leave human beings long enough. We will heal ourselves. You don't need people like me. But in the meantime, there's a lot of devastation that happens in your life. So we want to short-circuit that and get some healing going on before that occurs. What was your question, sir?
Well, like somebody, you marry 6 times to get it right. You marry 3 times to get it right. You're really practicing with another.
Yeah. Well,
and you keep practicing, and finally you get it right. And I know we don't know what happened in Norman Mailer's case. Maybe you just get old and you get tired. I don't know.
Well, that was one of the teachings of Groundhog Day that Bill Murray, I think, had. And that you have to keep going over and over and over, and finally you get it right.
Sure.
We take a long time to learn, and there are a lot of issues that we're working out in a relationship.
Serial monogamy type thing, or serial marriages.
Yeah. Well,
I have a friend who's been married 8 times.
Wow.
Keeps getting married. Who is she looking for? I don't know. Father?
Well, there's a deeper issue going on within her. And usually when you have a person who has that many marriages and that many relationships, there's deep issues around intimacy. And if you have an avoidant attachment in which intimacy is very scary, you'll either hook up with individuals who will cheat on you or leave you prematurely, or you will find ways to set up the room for the relationship to fail, or you'll sabotage it in some way.
You'll marry your father, you're in search of a father. Is it that deep?
Yeah,
necessarily?
I would say it's in a different way. It has to do more with your attachment than it has to do with marrying dad. And certainly, primarily our relationship with our mother is the one that counts. Father is actually secondary.
Really?
Yeah, it's the relationship or lack thereof with our mother that determines
whether you're male or female?
No, whether we determines our later adult attachment styles. So whether it's insecure or avoidant or insecure avoidant has to do with how we've attached with our mother. And that's why treating postpartum depression is so vital, because you have to have that early bonding of a mother with her child. And in the first week of suckling at the breast, that baby is already starting to make bonding going on.
Well, in some marriage vows, I don't think many say it anymore, but till death do us part.
Oh, I believe that's still in the,
is it
even the
still
secular
there?
Marriage vows, yes.
Really?
I believe so.
Till death do us part.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the obey part they took out.
Oh, they took the obey out. The church took that out. But my son and his wife, my daughter-in-law, had a secular wedding. And I believe that till death do us part is in there.
It's still there.
I believe
That's
so.
a long time. Some of us are living to 90 and 104.
Well, that's just it. I mean, all the canon laws on marriage in the church were made in the Middle Ages when the life expectancy was around 35 years of age. So it was easy to say, hang on, brother, heaven's right around the corner. But when people are living to 90 years of age, you can't say, hang on, you've only got 50 more years to put in.
You have to spend 70 years with one other person. It's a bit depressing in a way, but if there was a secret to doing that, to spending 70 years with the same man or the same woman.
I believe it's possible. And I believe that most divorces do not have to be. And that when we come to the place where we start to encounter the deepest pain within ourselves, within that relationship, because we've spent our lives running from that, we're going to want to run from that in the relationship. And the best way to work that out is in the relationship.
I always think if you take care of yourself in the relationship works. If you understand, and now I'm sounding like the therapist, that the relationship is an arrangement.
Yes.
Here's the rules. It's our
Yes,
arrangement.
I agree.
And you may not be very romantic, but that's okay.
That's right.
Because I'll get my romance not even from another man, but
Yeah,
somewhere else.
sure.
I'll put romance into my life somehow. But you, my darling, are just my good partner, and this is our arrangement. We're going to work this out.
I agree.
Really?
I've always said that, of course, romance and passion and sex is part of the marital relationship. But in the bottom line, you're two people centered within yourselves, not self-centered, centered within yourselves, who choose to negotiate how you're going to live in peaceful coexistence. And you get what you negotiate. You don't get what you deserve.
The ghost is blinking the light. Are you noticing?
No.
Yes.
You have a ghost?
We must have, because the light's flickering.
Is that Christmas past?
Perhaps. That means you have to come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Always look
nice
forward
to see
it.
you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dr. David McKenzie. And coming up, she has everything you need to make the most beautiful and delicious holiday season ever. Sweets, treats, recipes, fun family projects, and decor ideas. Canadian Living's Elizabeth Baird is next.